네, 다음 소식입니다. 세계에서 가장 혁신적인 대학으로 손꼽히는 미네르바 대학의 창립자 벤 넬슨이 한국을 찾았습니다. EBS 뉴스는 벤 넬슨 대표를 만나 혁신교육의 비결과 고등교육의 미래에 대해 들어봤습니다. 황대훈 기자입니다.
넬슨 대표님 첫 질문을 드리겠습니다. 미네르바 대학이 학생들에게 뇌수술까지 시켜준다라는 말을 하실 정도로 특별한 교육을 한다고 들었는데 어떤 교육입니까?
Well, Minerva serves a different purpose for most universities. Our mission is to nurture critical wisdom for the sake of the world. What we refer to as the brain surgery, which is changing the way that people interact with the world around them, is really crucial for us. It's important that we build various ways of thinking within our students, that we give them the tools to be able to navigate the world, to learn how to learn. It's understanding how to bring to bear systems of thinking to problems that look otherwise impossible to solve.
지난주 강연에서 넬슨 대표는 대학에서 배운 지식이 의미가 있었냐는 질문을 던졌습니다.
Can you think of anything you did this week that was helped by those tests? Anybody? One? Anybody else? You can raise your hands. Just one person.
기존 대학들이 전공의 벽에 가로막혀 실용적인 지식을 가르치지 못하고 있다는 진단입니다.
To apply what you've learned in one context when you encounter another context. And that is something that a disciplinary education, where you take a physics class here and a history class there and a psychology class there, or even if all you do is take just physics courses, doesn't enable a student to perform. And so the Minerva curricular approach is all about applying what you learn in one area across multiple other areas. And that process enables the student to then build up intuitions in their brain and enable them to apply what they've learned to any situation they encounter in life.
기존 대학은 혁신에 실패했다고 주장하는 넬슨 대표. 학령 인구가 감소해 수백 개의 대학이 없어질 미래에 혁신에 게으른 대학부터 문을 닫게 될 거라고 경고합니다.
One way, when the consumer has more power than the provider, is you draw price, right? And you make it cheaper, easier, lower, faster. And that's going to put even more pressure on the existing institutions that don't innovate. And there will be some low-cost, quote-unquote, leaders that have a relatively bad outcomes, but at least it's cheap. Another way of approaching it is to increase the quality of education, the quality of outcomes. Those are going to be the most resilient institutions, and they're going to be the ones that differentiate.
혁신의 비결은 기존 대학의 실패를 반복하지 않는 겁니다. 교수의 특권인 종신재직권을 없앤 것도 같은 이유에서입니다.
Huge failure. Huge failure. Tenure is a system that is a classic example of another thing we teach our students, which is right problem. As you reach 7 years, you have employment for life. You don't have to show up to work, you can do a terrible job, and you get paid no matter what. And in order for you to make it to 7 years, you have to do all sorts of crazy things to appeal to all of the people who don't have to do any work. And the other company the other news organization, you have to show up, you have to perform, you get evaluated, you get promoted based on how well you do, and if you don't perform and you continue to not improve, they let you go and they bring in somebody who does a better job. Which company would you rather work for?
디지털 기술도 또 다른 혁신 사례입니다. 미네르바 대학은 팬데믹 이전부터 모든 수업을 온라인으로 진행했습니다.
If the professor is calling on different students to make sure they're all participating, or if the professor is talking too much and not asking questions of the students too much, and we give feedback to the professor based on what we see. And there are tools built into the digital learning environment that we built that enable the professor to conduct a better class.
그러나 온라인에서 오프라인과 똑같은 수업을 하겠다는 생각은 금물입니다. 코로나 기간 많은 대학들이 겪은 시행착오입니다.
Is that when you look at technology as just a way to do the same thing you do without technology, it's terrible. When you look at technology as an enabler of doing things you can't do without it, it's vastly better.
미네르바'의 학생들이 경험하는 세계 7개 도시 가운데 하나는 서울입니다. 미네르바'의 교육 과정을 받아들이는 학교들도 빠르게 늘고 있습니다. 세계적인 혁신대학은 한국 사회를 교재로 삼고 있는데 정작 우리 대학들의 현주소는 어딘지 되묻게 됩니다.
That Korean society has on the world is vast. To the ability to be in the center of the political universe, right? With this tension between the East and the West, and the developing world and the developed world, and the US and China, and everything else that is involved, of course, the relationship between North and South Korea. And so from an opportunity to participate in a vibrant and multifaceted society that is radically different than the kind of exposure that the other locations provide to the students, Seoul rose to the top very, very quickly.
대학들이 지금 당장 멈춰야 할 일을 한 가지만 꼽아달란 질문에는 허위 과장 광고라고 답했습니다. 우리 대학들도 자유롭지 못한 지적입니다.
The university says on its website, we teach students to think critically, which every university does. If they cannot demonstrate that they do that, they shut down. So I don't really believe in central authority across them. But I also believe that regulation should ensure that what a university promises, it delivers.
EBS 뉴스 황대현입니다.